Okay, so let's start with this. Buddhism, as far as like, what I've learned, one of the first things I've learned is that like life is suffering, and I would love for you to kind of expand on that. What does that actually mean? I think when people hear that, they're kind of like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So yesterday, I just recently ordained a novice monk, a 21-year-old novice monk, and he was telling my other students that life is suffering. That's the first noble truth in Buddhism, and he was really convinced that that was factual. But the explanation is that it's actually there is suffering. There is the existence of suffering in life. And what is suffering is that birth is suffering, old age, death, decay, disease, all the things that we could directly see and experience for ourselves in this lifetime. Wanting something and not getting it is suffering. Wanting something and uh, desiring something and not getting it, and getting something that you don't desire, like a flat tire, is suffering. And suffering is defined as agitation, stress, unsatisfactoriness. If you're not at peace and it is disturbing your emotions, that would fall under suffering.
Got it. Thank you for explaining. So I guess one of the things that could lead to suffering is our attachment, right? Like you said, attachment to outcomes. What are some ways to become more aware of our own attachments and how to lean away from becoming controlling of certain outcomes?
Oh, and by the way, just to go back to suffering, the Pali word for that is dukkha in the original language of the Buddha. So how do we aware cultivate awareness to desire and attachment? So let's first define attachment. Attachment has a lot to do with control and wanting something forever, and not wanting it to change. And we want that to fall under our control uh, all the time, perhaps, most of the time, perhaps. It's like, I love this person. I love them very much. I don't want things to change. I love them exactly the way they are, the way how they love me, kiss me, hold me, do nice things for me. It's so pleasant right now, and I just want this to last forever. So the mind kind of freezes that stage, and it kind of want to lock in on that. And then here comes the expectation, is that expectation and then fear. Most of my counseling involves counseling marital couples or committed relationships across the spectrum, which also includes LGBTQIA plus. And philosophy says that, isn't that a scary thing about wanting to fall in love, or the act of love, or in love, and anything has to do with love kind of scares people, because it puts you in a world, it puts you in a predicament, it puts you in an environment where it's chaotic and it is out of control. It's chaotic. You think about it. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know what he's feeling. I don't know what she's going to say. I don't know what's going on. You can lay next to this person in the same bed, but yet still feel so lonely because you're alone with your thoughts, and so does that person. Um, by being aware of ourselves, our tendencies, and habit, spirituality is just that: it's knowing yourself. Who are you? How did you get here? Where have you been? Uh, where have you been the past couple of years since childhood? What happened to you since childhood? And as a direct result of what you saw, heard, experienced, the trauma, the pain, the sorrow, the yelling, the screaming, parents, how they love you, how they didn't love you, how you were abandoned, how does all of that tie into the present moment of fear that arises when you want to love, or when you want to communicate or associate or encounter another human being? So aware of that, a lot of logic, a lot of uh, analytics, a lot of tracing back give rise to information about ourselves, so that when we step in we do step in a little more cautious than coming in blind. And I see a lot of that. A lot of people walking into relationships blind, not knowing what to expect, and I'm just gonna play it by ear. A lot of people say that, right? I'm just gonna go with the flow. Oh, okay, well, go ahead, try it out, mess around, find out. It's stepping.
You have, yeah, no, go ahead.
You go ahead.
You have this video about how humans do foolish things when we are in love, similar to like how you said, like going in blind, going with the flow. Why do you think that is? Why do you think maybe our logical mind is not so, or like, what do you think it is?
Oh, most of it is propelled by fear, insecurities, not knowing ourselves, did not spend enough time to know the other person. So we spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of time, effort, and energy in hope that these are the right factors we think, but yet not according to science of love, not according to the best available resources in science that we know on the subject of relationships. Again, if you school don't teach, what the problem is, the root cause of it is that school don't teach you how to love. So therefore you walk into it blind and afraid of being rejected, especially men. A lot of aggression gives rise to aggression when men are being rejected, because in their mind they have all sorts of fantasies when stepping into expectations, the masculinity of it. So it's terrible. I see all of this unfold every single day, and again, stepping back a little bit, doing homework on yourself, and do some homework on the other person. Give it time. You have to study psychology. You got to study relationships. You got to study John Gottman. Human development. Coming in prepared, you know what to expect, and you can see warning signs. The capacity to love and loving another human being is a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. But on the flip coin, it can be also a dangerous thing. Taking advantage, manipulation, gaslighting, all of the weird stuff that we see play out in relationships, and direct evidence on the news. People get jealous, envious, and they kill. It leads to that. It leads to tremendous amount of suffering. So in Buddhism, we teach you all to sit in silence, to sit and learn about yourself. Look at what arises, the many thoughts that arises, and start tracing it backwards. The practice of paticca samuppada, the dependent origination, the practice of dependent origination. And when you got to have a lot of patience and a lot of endurance through the practice, when led by, taught by, and guided by a qualifying, experienced, authentic teacher, will serve you well. You do your homework and you will fall in love. Hopefully, you just narrow down all the factors and percentage of a successful, good one. If not, it's not pretty. You don't want to wind up with some of these people with multiple divorces, and still failing, the same habits, the same tendencies, the same frequencies and recencies. I see a lot of that. That is a continuous walking on thorns versus roses.
You brought up anger, frustration. What are some ways to transmute some of those emotions? You brought up the idea of sitting still, sitting in silence allows you to become the observer of your mind. So what are some ways, like if you get triggered, maybe you're in traffic, maybe someone says something that triggers you, what's your advice to handling your own anger and frustration?
Emotions like anger, frustration, agitation, uneasiness is due to lack of understanding, lack of information, because all therapy is information. Anyone who's afraid of therapy, they're like, oh my God, do I have mental illness or something? No, it just means information. Like one of my program is cognitive behavioral therapy. So basically, if we were to rephrase it, cognitive behavioral education. cognitive behavior information. So the Buddha taught compassion arises out of deep understanding. Then how do we understand? We have to study. If you have tendency to be angry, then you have to study anger. Uh, and again, tracing back to since childhood, where did you pick this anger up from? Are you the lonely only in the family? What happened? Was your father angry? Kind of like mine. You know, my dad was a very angry lieutenant, military lieutenant in the Vietnam War. So I got to see a lot of anger unfold, and I picked it up. And sometimes it is due to not having a perfect brain or an overreactive brain, the study of neurology. You know, sometimes neurons and protons in there firing a little bit more quicker than most people, quick to anger. Not everyone has a perfect brain. So you have to kind of really narrow it down. We got a whole science behind anger. I mean, after this talk, anyone can put science of anger on YouTube and it all pops up. A bunch of doctors, MD, PhDs talks about it. So, you know, we get angry in traffic, someone cuts us off, we resort back to our primitive reaction, which is, I can't believe you're trying to cut me off. I can't believe you're trying to hurt me. I can't believe I'm being under attack. And in Buddhism, it asserts that chill, calm down, Karen, calm down. If you has it ever strike you to think alternatively that maybe someone is trying to go to the bathroom, they can't hold it in, they're trying to use the restroom, or someone is rushing to the hospital to see their wife that is about to give birth very soon. But when we teach you all this in Buddhism, the alternative thinking, um, then you know you have these things in your shelves, on your shelves in your mind, and you pull them out whenever you know these things unfold. Life unfolds in front of you, and you realize that, yeah, I should have compassion for this person because they're obviously suffering. Because who wants to fly down the road 80 miles an hour, cutting people off, risking their life and other people? And it doesn't serve us justice to grab our 38 in the glove box and try to get even, because that's not our job and we're not being paid for it. Let the police handle it. And what they do to us or other people is their karma. What we do to them is our karma. And again, sitting in meditation, the practice of loving kindness meditation, metta, and vipassana meditation, insight meditation, that looks at Vedana Nupassana, is that when you sit there, for example, low back pain, and you get agitated and angry, right? And you start to analyze each step of the way how the anger arises, because you're not seeing things as they are. Simply put, people react the way that they do because they simply don't see things as they are. Well, why do you have low back pain? Well, that's the condition of the human body, is to produce pain. And if you put it in a position of too long, it's going to ache. It's going to, you know, have sharp shooting pain or numb. So just see it for what it is, right? This is the true nature of reality of my body. Instead of saying, and typically this is the response of people, is, I can't believe I can't sit and meditate. Every time I sit in lotus position, every time it always strikes. I could never sit more than 5 minutes. So now we're compounding suffering on top of the existing pain. So be good to yourself. Just calm down. You know, consult a good qualifying teacher, and they will teach you the way, and you realize to be, you know, mindful of your body, mindful of things that is unfolding. And that's how you learn step by step.
I love that. Thank you. So Dharma, you know, I hear this word a lot. I would love your definition of what Dharma is, and also how we can discover our own Dharmas.
So Dharma is described in many ways, according to different traditions. In Buddhism, Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha. When I define Dharma, who I don't know which religion or philosophy that they belong to, it's just your way of living, right? And you have to examine, oh no, I'm atheist, I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim. Okay, that's okay too. And then I would question, well, how do you respond to some of these emotions in life? How do you respond to things that is happening? And you find examples just to test them, just to see, just to evaluate and assess their dharma, their working operating system of of dharma. Like, so you know, if someone cuts in front of traffic, what do you do? Or if you just hang out with them the whole day and watch how they drive or watch how they speak to other people, treat other people, it is also direct evidence of how they live their life, a good working philosophy of how they live their life. And that to me defines dharma. And when a person exemplifies beautiful dharma, that means, again, the way how you treat people tells all, right? You know, my students, they follow me all the time and they see how I crack jokes. I meet random people in Publix and I make them smile, and I love your hair, I like that color. And yet some of people, when they look at me strange, all in orange with my arm sticking out, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, you know, every day this is my Halloween costume. They start cracking up. So, you know, random acts of kindness and playing with people, because life is already serious. So, and then for students who come from different cultures and background, I tell people, yes, so indeed I am a monk, but I don't really identify as that. I just want to see myself as a simple man, a visitor on this planet. You know, I come, I study, I try to fix myself and inspire other people by my own transformation. That's my dharma, and it's working out for me. I'm not doing harm to myself and or other people.
I would love to hear more about your own personal transformation. So, what led you to Buddhism? What led you to become an ordained monk? Was there a pivotal moment? Did you experience a lot of suffering? And what was that journey like?
So I grew up. I was born in Vietnam. I came here when I was 7 in 1995 under the refugee program. My father was a military lieutenant in the Vietnam War. So under the Reagan bill, we immigrated. Life was going well, you know. I'm here at 7 years old, trying to figure it out, trying to fit in. I'm like, whoa, white people, black people, Hispanic people. Where's my people? Why am I the only Asian in this class? Trying to participate, trying to learn American culture. I picked up the language within 6 months. I was accepted by friends. I was loved by friends. Figuring it out, fell in love. You know, down the line, um, that attachment, and fell out of love. Just trying to make sense of what's happening in this chaotic stage of life of teenage, right? And teenage is defined anyone under 25, adolescent actually, because your mind and your brain is still developing and growing chemically. So in her book Nancy Cobb, in adolescence, under 25, then came my grandmother. I didn't really get along much with people in the household. It was quite toxic, domestic violence, you know, having to obey and follow that type of leadership in the home. So came my grandma, who was really chill. I was born and raised Catholic, and my grandma was very much into Buddhism, meditates every day, calm, very nice to strangers, was loved by all. So I was quite moved by the way how she lived her life, her dharma. And then she passed away in 2015 after living here in America for 10 years. That hit hard because it was, I remember very vividly how she started having heart attack symptoms and subsequently had the heart attack in front of the physician at Northside Hospital. And I had to hold it together to be strong. I'm the only child in the family. But then I remember that when she went into the cremation, that I was never ever going to see her again. And that's when I really hit bottom. I really started to, on my way to hit rock bottom. A year later, followed by my best friend, Jacob Hall. He was described as a brother I never had. Everything we had in common was that we had unfulfilled hope and expectations in our young lives. And I was really looking forward to that. I was really looking forward to growing, smiling, sharing stories, everything we see in the movies, right? I wanted to see myself and Jacob, have family together and travel together. He was a pilot, he was a mechanic, he was everything. I've never seen such an intelligent 21-year-old that superseded me. So we both looked up to each other, had very high standards. He died of an accidental death, and that did it. Uh, that did it on my senior year in college, Eckerd College. I went spiraling down so fast and so deep that I was either going to end up dead or in prison because all of my behavior was very risky, very suicidal. I just didn't care anymore. What was the point of living? Um, and I went back. I was able to use this wit right here, this brain right here, and I reflected and I said, you have so much to give to the world and offer to the world. I'm pretty sure Jacob and Grandma is not going to be very happy if you join them right now, having a gun in my hand. They would probably want you to give back to society and obviously rise above this. And so I went to become a monk and sat in silence for 1 year, silent meditation, and reflected, and then basically asked questions like, how how did I get here? This volatile young man, how did I get here? How did I become so angry? How did I become so resentful? Just all of these really deep, painful questions that all of us push aside. I wanted to face them, and I did. Um, in the woods, I did. Uh, I think I spoke 2 paragraphs the whole year. Ate to survive, no preference. Mostly hot in the sun. Not a lot of AC environment. A lot of writing, a lot of studying. It was a very, very fast track. I wanted to just want to get through it. It was fast, but at the same time, it was also slow, thorough, complete, and comprehensive. Um, and I mastered the practice of Paticca Samuppada in my own life. So then I have all this wisdom that came, and I said, "Oh, that's why you're angry. That's why you had this tendency. That's why you do these risky behavior." And I realized, okay, I have enough information. I was securing the knowledge of the past to now use that moving forward. And then, here we are. And somewhere down the line, I tried out the TikTok thing just for fun. And it blew up, and then COVID happened, and now we're here with so many followers that is in existence. And I think people were very much inspired by my own change. I would hope that they pick it up through my voice, through my own journey with all of the evidence that I have presented on my Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. And yeah, it's working out. It's good. Everything is working out, and that's what the Buddha wanted everyone to do, was not to take his teachings based on blind faith. And I repeat this again, even if I was an actively living Buddha, which I'm not, none of you are supposed to believe what I tell you and to test out the methods of meditation, the Four Noble Truth, the Noble Eightfold Path, to see if it works out for you. So that's the challenge.
Thank you for sharing. What a beautiful journey and transformation. You speak about the middle way. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on what you mean by middle way?
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is where, so after 5 years of apprenticeship in the monkhood, in the monk life, I've decided to go off.
Did you do that in the U.S.? Did you do the monk training in the U.S.?
Majority of it. Some of it was in Vietnam, in my own city, Nha Trang City, with a Mahayanan monk, Venerable Quang. And some of it was in Thailand for a very brief amount of time. I also went to Cambodia for observations, but most of it was done here in the U.S. where my parents reside. And of course, only child in the family, they're not going to let me go far. They don't want the bird to fly too far from the nest. But after 5 years of monkhood, of training and apprenticeship, I went off on my own and pretty much question myself, well, how are you going to live your life now that you're an independent monk and not a residential monk? And again, along the way, as life moves on, I got all these students that wanted to learn. I got into teaching. I just engaged more with society versus the traditional Theravadan ways. And now my students see all sorts of things. Now I'm, stretching a lot of the rules because I want to teach them the middle way too. It's like monks are not allowed out at night. So, when the sun sets, I have to kind of go back. I still do. Sometimes it's a little bit past. The sun's already down and we're still getting a little glow. Music, I had to readjust the policy on music, according to our precept, try to refrain from entertainment. Yeah, but these are 20-year-olds, these are 18, 19-year-olds that I'm trying to inspire. So I'm trying to let them adjust, and I'm adjusting with them. It's like, I'm swimming in the same waters with them. It's a lot of fun, actually, and hopefully I can finish my book relatively soon in the forthcoming days. But the middle way means don't get too lazy and self-mortified, self-mortification, depressed, sitting in bed, laying in bed all day, wallowing in sadness, not becoming a productive member of society. And what is the extreme is not too much partying, not too much sex, not too much smoking, vaping, weed, zaza, LSD, shrooms, you name it. Okay. The middle way is all right. Let's kind of swim back this way and find it right here, where you're studying, you're practicing, you're breathing, you're meditating, you're in touch with yourself. Self-care. You're going to therapy. You're reaching out for help. Life is unlimited possibilities and opportunities. Why would you confine yourself in this box? And sometimes your own house or your own room could be that box. I'm afraid to go out. I'm afraid to try new things. I don't want to do yoga. I can't sit and meditate. We are very clever and intelligent, aren't we? We come up with all sorts of excuses we're like a little lawyer in our head. The lawyer in your head that did not go to law school, did not graduate law school, is not board certified. So being aware of that, you realize you have been fooling yourself all along. You've underestimated yourself. You have overestimated yourself. You've wasted all this time. Where are we? Where are you right now? So again, it's being honest to yourself. You don't have to tell me this. You don't have to tell Charles this. Tell this in your journal. If you write, you would face the truth. You will see patterns. You will see things unfold. Oh, dear journal, I slept today at 3 in the morning and I done woke up at 5 p.m. You write that 4 times a week. Hopefully you would wake up and realize, all right, it's not working out. And this is quite extreme. And where I need to adjust. A person can adjust their life according to the Buddhist way, if you want to try, by following the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path teaches you how to manage your time, how to treat other people, how to save money, how to not engage in illegal activities. It's a very comprehensive and effective educational system the world has ever seen. So, we would take forever if I went through each one, but that's a challenge for all of our viewers and listeners, is to Google Noble Eightfold Path. And there's plenty of teachers that explain it. You're going to need to listen to a lot of them to find the commonalities. I explained it a different way. Another qualifying teacher could explain it a different way, but you start to see patterns and you apply it to your life. So again, it's like a string or a rubber band. You don't want to stretch it out too much. It might snap. You don't want it too loose because then it's ineffective. Or any other instrument in music, right? You tune it right, the guitar right, man, is that music to your ears? And that's the middle way.
Love it. Thank you. The idea of rebirth and beginning again, can you expand on what that means?
So if we think a little far out about rebirth, if at the moment of death, if you cling on to greed, anger, and if you are still ignorant of the Four Noble Truths, the truth about suffering, the end of suffering, the causes of suffering, then you will take rebirth into what? It's probably not going to be pretty. There's 6 realms of rebirths. The human realm is considered a favorable realm. And then you have the demigods, you have the hell realm, you have all sorts. So that's, kind of down the road. When we talk about rebirth of the mind, let's talk about what is within our control, which is the birth of a thought, death of a thought, birth of an emotion, death of an emotion. So remember that the Buddha taught in life it is impermanent, nothing lasts forever. Not your state of mind right now. If you're sad right now at the time of this talk, it's not going to last forever. If you just won the lottery right now, it's not going to last forever. And how vigilant and aware with supreme awareness we are and conscious we are about these, in a day you have 50 to 70,000 separate thoughts each day. No wonder why you come home exhausted, even though if you don't work in labor, sometimes people who work labor, they're physically tired, but not mentally tired. And then some people who are lawyers and doctors, they don't do a lot of labor work, but they come home and they just pass out like I do after counseling sessions. But being aware that, these things are arising as they unfold, how to observe them and let them go, and quickly not to analyze them, because some thoughts are just not worth analyzing, not worth attaching onto, does not serve us. The mind is always competing for priorities. The mind is always searching for threats. The mind is always recycling the past and apprehend the future. These are the tendencies of the mind. Aware that they come and go, which is rebirth. You're like, okay, time to snap out of it. Time to use methods in meditation to slow it down, to bring it back together so that you have control of your mind. A mind that has been brought under control, is well attended to and well disciplined, does in fact lead you to great happiness, said the Buddha. So rebirth is a good thing to study and dive into. Rebirth in the present moment also means repeating over and over again. If we're drinking, being lazy and waking up the next day, repeating yourself over and over again, that's also rebirth. All right. I'm tired of this cycle. Right. It is the cycle of rebirth. Samsara is what we call it in Buddhism. So again, who wants to live like that? And some people do, and some people are okay with that. Some of the things I hear in counseling sessions, I'm like, wait a minute, are you even hearing yourself? Your mind's tripping. Is my mind tripping right now? Yes, it is. You're in circles right now. Perpetual. Yeah, perpetual. I need you to get off the wheel and come towards the light of wisdom and knowledge, and so it's another good challenge for people to don't get too comfortable in life, because when we get too comfortable and we get on this perpetual cycle, life becomes meaningless, no purpose. And you want to be happy, you want to maximize the capacity for the enjoyment of life. Remember that a good life equals a good death.
Good life equals good death. Beautiful. What are some things that you do on a daily basis are you pretty regimented, or do you have like a set practice to keep yourself in your highest, vibration, in your best version of yourself, so you can best serve your community through counseling? Or like, what do you do every single day? Is it differ, or is it the same?
So I wake up, I meditate, I set my intentions.
What time?
6 in the morning, 6 to 8, and then my students, they open their eyes at 8:30. They have to be at work by 10, so we have some room for breakfast and to talk about how they sleep. At the time of this talk with you, I am measuring a couple of students on a very scientific scale, especially sleep. We all got it down to a science, and now I'm like the scientist, stepping back, watching them, watching their behavior, their emotions, what's going on at home, and how that is affecting the way they sleep, the way they function, their cognition and emotion. So it changes. It's the pattern is quite the same, but it also changes. I never know when someone's barging into my room, knocking on my door, needing counseling, or students are going back to using drugs or alcohol or smoking. So I have to deal with it in the moment, and I try to make the best out of it. I eat lunch again at 12, and then I meditate. I try to do some reading. I have a lot of readings to do. I try to reserve an hour for writing. So I break it up. I break it up. It's my life. It's like a blueprint, and pen, piece of paper, draw like a big circle, and break it up into little pizza pies, and then look at it. How do you manage your time in a day? In my younger days, I used to keep an hourly journal, an hourly diary, literally each line, an hour each line, so that I can track, you know, what's going on, what's happening. Plus, I was a legal and medical interpreter serving all areas of law and medicine, so I didn't want to make a mistake. And I need to backtrack. If I had so many cases, I need to backtrack in case, like where was I at again? And I had really bad ADHD, so I had to come up with a system to track myself and cases, holding myself responsible. I always pretended like someone's gonna ask me, like, "Hey," and then what happened last week, and I'll be like, "Oh, give me a minute. Let me grab my journal." um, and then when it comes towards the end of the day, particularly this time right now, it's 7:10. I usually go to the beach and meditate on the beach, or lie down on the sand and let the sand just suck all of the acquired emotions in one day, acquired negative bad habits out of my body. And the ocean's really good at that. And when my mind gets too overwhelming, I let the waves take over. The sound of the waves override everything in my little computer in my head. So I eat right and try to be vegetarian as much as I can. Hydrate, a lot of water. When in doubt, I consult my teacher, and I try to sleep around like 10, 11. It used to be earlier, but now due to all of the counseling sessions, So that's a small sample of it. I mean, obviously, anyone who goes to my YouTube can see sometimes I fire up things at a 12. Like last night, I fire up the YouTube at 12 o'clock live. I go live 95% of the time so that people can capture snapshots of my life, my program, what I'm doing, all the students, so that they also see a scientific model of living, my Dharma. Huh? But that's to inspire all of you.
I love it. Love it. Very beautiful. I love that the waves and like the ocean is almost like a mandala. It's like they spent all this time, and it's like, and I feel like it's like a nice practice of like non-attachment.
Right.
So is there anything that you want to share that you feel called to share? And also if there's any programs that you're working on, or your book, or feel free to share whatever.
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for reaching out and having this conversation. I see that you're teaching meditation a lot. It's you have good programs too. Very active, I see, very active, and it makes me want to go over there to to sit in one of your classes. Actually, I always like to try.
Meditate. Let's meditate together. I would love that.
Yeah, and people will teach a little bit differently sometimes. They bring all sorts of energy to the table. But the current time, my program is the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy program, which is a sub thing underneath the Rapid Realization program. And I assert that before meditating, you have to go through the CBT if there's active suffering, active depression, active anxiety, active PTSD, any mental health issues that I could detect, then we need to go through CBT, and then we get into Buddhism. Hard to study Buddhism and meditation when your mind's all over the place, wrestling with you. And we're raising a lot of fundings for it. This year, I didn't realize, how everything went up, and the cost per student to get them motivated. There's a whole science, and there's also my way of relating to Gen Zoomers, here in Florida, right, the Sunshine State, to get them active, up and going. And I was able to get a lot of students back on their feet after breakups, especially breakups. These 18, 19-year olds breaking up with their girlfriends, and going back to work, full scale. And so they're doing the best that they can, and all of that was made possible by everyone, around the world, in contributing to such programs as this. And we try to be different than traditional therapists. I don't know, for some reason they all come and the traditional therapy is not working out for them. So I have to try to always move around using ingenious ways to relate and meet the student where they're at. Come as you are. We will meet you where you're at, and select proper teachings out of 84,000 teachings, so that you can manage, cope, and overcome all of the obstacles in your life, no matter where you've been and the family background that you came from. But I would invite everyone to visit my social media, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's Jidao Monk, and I teach for free. I don't charge money, consistent with this tradition. But yeah, I can't wait to meet some of you, and it's a journey. We're all in this together, right? You suffer, I suffer. Suffering could be awesome. We don't have to, boohoo about it. And Charles here for you, and I'm here for you, and it's not like you're doing this alone. Diving into the unknown alone. You have good qualifying people, authentic teachers, experienced teachers that have gone through suffering themselves, that will hold your hand through the process. One life, so you gotta make the best out of it. Good life, good death.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your teachings. I'm so excited. Let me know if you're ever in LA. And if I'm ever in Florida, I would love to come to one of your sessions and meet you in person.
Yeah, we will contact. My best friend Austin is doing his RN over there in California, and so I look forward to attending his graduation. So, and I have a couple of therapists that I work with, that's also over there. So I look forward to traveling soon. I'm really due to travel soon. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
I think I should mention the last thing is we're traveling to Vietnam November 9th. So if everyone check out the link tree on all of my page, and if you want to save up and book with me and travel to see Halong Bay. I wanted to do a 2-week thing there, so that the 1 week Halong Bay, and then the other week you all will travel with me to see the old monastery that trained me, my very first teacher that trained me in death meditation. And my city is beautiful. Nha Trang City is beautiful. So that's something to look forward to. And in life, always have something to look forward to. That'll be my last message.
Yes, I agree. I love that. I have a friend in Vietnam that I would love to connect you with, who used to work with Thich Nhat Hanh at the monastery. Yeah, and she's amazing. She just moved back to Vietnam, but I think she'd be a good contact, whether for this experience or just stay connected.
Awesome. Oh yeah, networking around the world. Yeah. We got to be more connected, more connected, more interconnected, and not solo and alone.
Serve together, So awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend. Enjoy the beach if you get out there today.
Oh yeah.
And I will. Yeah, I'll stay in touch when this comes out. Can't wait to share this with everyone. Thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Charles. Have a good one, and take care over there in LA.
Have a good weekend. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yay. Cheers. We did it.
We did. Of course, right? Instagram always wants me to choose a profile picture. Goodness. Okay. See if I can have enough time to catch the beach before the sun sets.